Hello guys, welcome to another video. Let's look at using appropriate instruments and techniques for your experimental procedure. That's for both practicals and written exam questions. Now, scientific instruments can be divided into two. They can be divided into digital ones or analog. Let's talk about the analog instruments. When you say an instrument is analog, you're saying that it's an instrument that can transfer information through electric pulses of varying amplitude. The instrument tends to have a dial. They're quite cheap, but then they have a lower accuracy and resolution when you compare them to the digital counterparts. An example of that is analog ammeter. You've got a dial. The dial tends to be more sensitive, and when you have fluctuating values, it can tend to be difficult for you to get exact measurement. So lower accuracy and resolution, take note of that. And then for the analog, it displays normally involves a pointer which indicates a value depending on its position or angle on a scale. And then analog meters, they're always subject to zero errors. When we say zero error, we're saying that when you're measuring something and then it gives you more like a false reading, you're supposed to have the dial on zero when you're not measuring anything. But then before the start of your experiment, you check your ammeter, you see that your dial is not on zero. You end up having values way off the true value, and that affects the results at the end of the day. That's all we term as zero error. There are also subjects to parallax error. That's another error, which is a reading caused by not reading the measurement at eye level. Now let's deal with digital ones. For digital, it tends to translate information into binary. When we say binary, we mean zeros and ones format, which can be read and analyzed by a computer. They are quite expensive when you compare them to the analog counterpart, but then they have an edge over the analog. They have greater accuracy and resolution, and then they display the readings in digits, measured values in digits. You would see the digits written on the screen and you can read it off without subjecting yourself to error of parallax, zero error and all of that, except if you've got a faulty instrument. Okay, that's a different case. And then they're easy to use because they give specific value. Yeah, digital meters, sometimes, we said earlier that they're not subject to zero errors in most cases because you can easily see. But when you've got a faulty instrument and then the reading is not going back to zero, you tend to subtract what you had at the beginning from your final results. That would mean you've adjusted your values for zero error. But in most cases, it's kind of rare. Alright, and the most digital meters have an auto range function. This means it can show very low or very high values depending on the readings, and that tends to save time selecting an instrument with a correct range and precision for your experiment.